Good morning. Welcome to a pajama preaching, just a thought. And you'll hear in the background the clock ticking. Because normally I take the battery out, but actually it's a useful starting point to what I'm going to be talking about. My grandma, bless her, had very, very severe arthritis, was chair-bound, struggled, and managed with it for years and years. I remember in my childhood how she'd have a special chair that she pulled a lever and the chair hoiked her up. And she never moaned, never complained at all. Just got anxious about walking around the bungalow and stuff like that, but never complained. But the one that she'd do is she'd clock watch. She'd be looking all the while and looking at the clock. And she'd sit there with her hands and she'd be doing that. And as a child, I used to wonder what's going through Grandma's mind. What's going through our minds at the moment with all of the COVID repercussions and the Ukrainian war repercussions and the global repercussions of everything? It's at this time that probably the words of Jeremiah 29 verse 11 pop into mind. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And I think that we often cling on that, don't we? Because it gives us hope. It gives us a confidence that there is something moving along and something holding us and supporting us. I think throughout the COVID outbreak, pandemic, endemic, whatever it is now, people have started to delve into this far more, to think about these plans and to review perhaps their own plans. But the thing is that when we dig into a verse, do we start to fit in our own meanings to it? We do our own interpretations of it and interpretations as well. And that can be helpful maybe at the moment, but not if you're sort of rewriting the Bible word for word. The historical context is that Jeremiah was speaking these words to Jews who had been living under the domination of the Egyptian and then the Babylonian empires, and before being eventually carried off into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Does all that sound quite familiar at the moment? You can only imagine what it must be like living under a domination of enemies. Well, we don't need to imagine, do we? We see it now on all the news stories. Have we become numb to these news stories? All the horrors that we're seeing through the screen, all the immediacy of the news. Leaving a homeland, settling in a foreign place. And in the previous chapter, you find that Jeremiah had pronounced judgment on the false prophet Hananiah. Hananiah had said that God would break the yoke of Babylon, freeing the people to return home within 2 years. His message undoubtedly sounded pretty darned appealing, but it was a lie. And it resulted in God removing Hananiah from the face of the earth. You can look that up in Jeremiah 28 verse 15 to 17. But Jeremiah tells the people that they would live in Babylon for at least 70 years. Therefore, they should settle down, build houses, marry, and even pray for the peace and prosperity of the city in which they now found themselves. And that you'll find in Jeremiah 29 verses 4 to 10. So we can understand this in context, that when Jeremiah is speaking these words for people in the midst of absolute hardship, absolute suffering, people who were desiring the immediate rescue, the one that Hananiah lied about. But God's response is not to provide immediate escape from a difficult situation, but God's response is to promise that he has a plan to prosper them in the midst of their current situation. And during this run up to Holy Week, we think of Jesus. What did the people think that Jesus was there for? To free them from the Roman grip, the Roman Pax Romana, Rome imposing their peace on a different peoples. And they expected Jesus to come along and oust the Romans, free them all. Praise Yahweh. But he didn't do it as they expected. He actually did it by dying on a cross and then being resurrected. But at the time, were these people convinced? Who is this person? Isn't that Joseph's lad? You get that tittle-tattle, don't you? That discomfort that people have. And so Jesus didn't say like Hananiah, everything's going to be sorted right now. You just wait for it. A couple of years, be all sorted. Jesus never told that. He reminded us that I and my Father are one. Therefore, he was, is, and always will be God and part of the Trinity. So we know that God will work through all of the stuff that we go through to prosper us and to give us hope and a future. And if we look back, and if you look back on your life, the times when things have gone absolutely to pot, what happened afterwards? Did things slowly resolve? So you can take comfort in God's words through Jeremiah. Because he says, call on me and come and pray to me. I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Jeremiah 19 verses 12 to 13. And isn't that what we do as praying Christians? I'm very grateful for a blog written by the College of Theology, which is part of the Grand Canyons University, to educate people from a Christian perspective. So I'm grateful for them. And I'm grateful for you for watching, for listening. And on this YouTube video, apparently, I will get sort of more coverage somehow if you subscribe to me and if you click that you like what I said, if you do. So any of those things, if you wish to do them, I'd be grateful. Take care. God bless.